ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of The Devil's Due. I am your host, Carl Duty, and with me, as always, is the man who once beat Benjamin Grimm in a game of paper, rock, scissors, ironically, by using rock. Mr. Drew Celestino.
I had help. I had help.
You had help.
Can you tell that I need help? Well, yeah, the Yancey Street Gang was backing me up, so like they do.
Like they do. How you doing, sir?
Okay. Long week.
Long week?
Long week.
Believe me, I know the feeling.
Long day.
Oh.
Yeah, so here we are.
Here we are again for our third episode. We're back in. Very excited to be here. Again, thank you very much to all the positive feedback we got from our second episode and the positive feedback we've been getting on the show. We're very flattered by it. We appreciate it. If we could just ask you, dear listener, put the word out about the show. Spread it out. Let people know about the show.
Pollinate. Cross-pollinate.
Look at you dropping the science.
Well, you know.
And if people ask you, hey, where can I find information on this great new podcast I hear about? You can direct them to our Twitter feed at Devil's Due Pod. They can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Devil's Due Pod, or just search The Devil's Due. And you can also email us using that fine forgotten art at thedevilsduepod@gmail.com.
Email's still my jam, but whatever.
Yeah, we the only thing we've gotten in the Devil's Due Pod email is an email saying that the show's been approved by iTunes.
No, that's
so
something.
Apple likes us.
Do they, though? Do they like anybody? Unless they get a cut.
So, you said it's been a long week, long day. Anything of note happen? Anything exciting happen in your week?
Grumpy. I sound grumpy. I shouldn't be. Let's see.
Grumpy?
Little. Come on, man. This is a new show. New Drew, sort of. Kind of. Sort of. Definitely a personality transplant since my last podcasting endeavor for a variety of reasons. Mostly personal, though, as in myself. But anyway, not to get off on a tangent.
You're hugging yourself more. You're loving the you that's inside the Drew.
Kind of. I don't know about all that. I turn it on for the show, man, but there's some deep-seated stuff happening. No, it was good. Good week. Bad week, but some good features happened this week. On Wednesday, especially, was a banner night for pro wrestling. I had some people over for Shinsuke Nakamura versus Finn Balor on NXT. It's likely Finn Balor's final match in NXT before he gets the big call up. And obviously, in case you didn't know, I'm a bit of a Shinsuke Nakamura, what they call a mark. So I kind of love everything that man does. So. It was great. And then that was immediately followed by I still can't believe it happened on a WWE funded endeavor, the Cruiserweight Classic, the opening 3 or 4 matches of that, three matches. The opening 3 matches of that tournament, I said, of the Cruiserweight Classic were immediately following the NXT show, and it was unlike anything I've ever seen produced by WWE. And I am amazed. I am shocked and amazed that they are even allowing it to happen. Vince McMahon doesn't know this is happening. Somewhere in a room, he's asleep and muttering, and everyone is just saying, "Don't tell Vince this is going on. Don't tell him what it is. He doesn't know who these guys are. He doesn't know what we're doing."
That's funny. You are a big wrestling buff. I mean,
little bit.
I didn't get an invitation once in. Just saying. Just throwing it out there.
I'll throw the invitation. I throw the invites out to those who will probably accept.
Ouch.
Wrestling is not for everyone. I understand that.
No, it's not. But you know what? I'm not about to knock you on it, because you know what? There's too much friggin' knocking people for doing something they enjoy going on lately.
Yeah, like all you Pokemon Go players, for instance.
Oh my god! Like, okay, Pokemon, not my thing.
Do your thing, man. I don't know.
I'm not big into Pokemon.
Nope.
I don't play Pokemon Go.
Just be safe out there, kids.
But yeah, just be safe.
Don't run in the street.
Yeah, look up from the phone. Don't run in the street.
Don't fall off cliffs.
And have yourself a good old time with Pokemon Go.
And if you find a dead body, do report it to the police, please. Because this apparently has happened twice in the last week. People have found dead bodies searching for Pokemon.
It's a thing. It's a huge thing. It's taken over the internet. But, like, I don't get the people who just feel the need to bash the people who are playing it.
Well, it's you get into a vicious circle. What's more annoying, the people playing Pokemon Go, the people that bitch about the people playing Pokemon Go, or the people that bitch about the people that bitch about playing Pokemon Go?
So you're saying I'm part of the problem?
We all are. So
that's cool.
I just say do what you do and try and leave me alone, and we'll be fine.
Go catch them all. Leave me be.
That's right. Get off my lawn. I mean, not for nothing. Carl and I are in our 30s, so
Late
please.
30s in one of our cases.
Still clinging to the early.
You're in the mid, sir.
I'm on the fringe of the mid. Fringe. And I like it that way.
Oh, man. That's great. Well, I'm glad you had a week with some high points.
Some high points.
Good.
Strikes and gutters, ups and downs, as a great man once said.
I got you, dude. So, yeah. How
about you?
Baby's teething.
Baby's teething?
Baby's teething.
Lucky you.
Yeah. So, it's kind of one day on, one day off thing where he'll be fine one day and next day he's my own little raging demon.
He'll get past that.
Yeah.
And then it'll be smooth sailing until he turns 2.
Uh-huh.
So soak it in.
So yeah, that's been occupying my week. But I'm excited this weekend. Evo.
Yes.
Evo Championship
the
Series.
Fighting game tournament.
For those of you who don't know, as much as Drew is a big wrestling fan, I am a huge fighting game fanatic. And this year is this weekend is the annual EVO Championship Series that's being held in Las Vegas. It's the world's biggest fighting game tournament. Over 5,000 entrants just for Street Fighter V alone.
If we can come together for a moment, I have a sneaking suspicion that Kenny Omega will be there.
I'm sure he will be.
The cleaner, Kenny Omega. The NJPW zone, Kenny Omega. And I'm also fairly confident that Xavier Woods, WWE's...
Xavier Woods, as he continued to correct people on the feed at the last tournament.
Look.
Xavier Woods.
I'll take the man at his word, but it's not even his real name, so who is he to tell me how to say it?
There you go.
In any case, I believe he'll be there. And if Kenny Omega... if his latest YouTube video is to be believed, okay. Now, again, I'll speak to you in fighting game parlance or in comic book parlance if you are a comic book fan as this show. So, you have your Street Fighter, you've got your Mortal Kombat, okay? You've got your DC, you've got your Marvel, you've got NJPW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and you've got WWE. These things are independent entities unto themselves, and crossovers do not happen. Many interests prevent these things from crossing over with any sort of frequency. I mean, it can happen, but it's extraordinarily rare. Yeah. Well, Kenny and Xavier have crossed paths on YouTube, as you might know.
Yes.
And whether anyone knows this or not in WWE, well, Xavier Woods certainly knows it. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, they go by, they're a three-man team called the Elite. They're like a sect of the Bullet Club. The Bullet Club is like it's complicated, but trust me, it's cool. They've been actively calling out the New Day in NJPW, even though they can't do anything, but they've been actively doing it because they just feel like they can and they're going to. Even though it'll never really come to fruition, but Kenny feels that if you put it out there enough, you kind of will it into existence. So he's been doing it actively. Well, in the last YouTube video, Kenny seemed to call a friend at the end of the video. Now, in case you don't know, Kenny and Xavier have met before at a fighting game tournament.
Yes,
so
I sent you the link. I was like, hey, check this out. You did. You didn't watch it.
And... So he's at the phone with somebody after he'd just spoken to his friends, the Young Bucks, and he says, yes, we're going to do it again, right? It's the wheels are in motion. Yeah. Did you tell them? Yeah, I told them. Okay. Yeah, we all know. We'll meet there. So if this is all kind of coalescing, I believe that the New Day will be meeting up and facing the Elite in some capacity, likely at EVO. I'm just guessing, but because that they can't actually have a wrestling match because of contractual obligations and legalities, there's nothing saying that they can't all just be at EVO and have a Street Fighter tournament.
There you go. That's pretty awesome. And probably the most awesome thing, we'll end this whole wrestling video game stuff on this, is that this year the grand finals of Street Fighter V and EVO are going to be televised on ESPN2.
The Deuce.
That's the world we live in now.
It's better than the Ocho. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty freaking awesome. I love that. All right, folks.
Hey.
We have a huge show for you. Past couple episodes, we've basically just been doing our little intro and then going right into the episode of Daredevil. We're going to start phasing in some new segments on the show for you. And we've got some that we're going to be doing tonight, so it's going to be a little more jam-packed show for you. Let us know, by all means, at those sources mentioned earlier, what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see us do with the show. I've already had a request from a friend of mine that we need to do just a completely, just all geek culture encompassing show. And I was like,
we're focused here on Devil's Due, man.
We are laser focused for right now. Who knows what the future holds, but for right now, this is our jam and we're enjoying it. So,
but we're going to dip a toe in the water.
We are. The water is nice. We dip a toe in the water.
Well, we're checking it. We're just making sure it's nice.
Exactly. So, for the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to open up the case files, so to speak.
Ooh,
and we're going to discuss some news items that have happened this week.
Puns.
Yes, pun. It's so punny. So, for our first news item, it was announced by Marvel earlier this week that the original creative team behind the run of Jessica Jones.
See, this ties in.
Yeah, this is all tied. A lot of times news is going to be from different things in geek culture. This particularly, these two items in a roundabout way tie in to Marvel.
Daredevil.
Yeah, Daredevil, Marvel, the grand picture. The original creative team, which was Brian Michael Bendis as the writer
and Michael Gaydos as the artist.
Michael Gaydos as the artist, are going to be relaunching the Jessica Jones comic book series.
Correct. They originally did that. It was called Alias at the same time as a television show called Alias was on, which starred who?
Jennifer Gardner.
What was she in?
She was in a movie called Daredevil.
See how all this... It's so weird.
It's a circle of life.
Man. All roads lead back to Daredevil. In any case, no relation to the show.
Yeah, no relation to the show. This is a Marvel comic series that's starting up again. Marvel is a little more reboot, relaunch happy.
Oh, they sure are.
The past 5 to 10 years than in recent memory beyond that. But this is a welcome announcement because the original Alias series, even though I didn't read it, because I'll confess, when I saw it on the shelves, I was like, I don't want to read a series based on a television show. I'm putting my cards out there.
But hang on. But what if I told you that even though you were wrong then, you're right now?
But when will then be now?
Soon. See, it was a book based on a TV series, but the TV series was 10, 15 years in the future, which is now.
So now is now.
Now is now. Alias was then, but it is now on TV.
Mind bomb.
Yeah, so
yeah,
let's chew on that for a while.
Are you gonna check out the new series?
Yeah, I'll check it out. I'm actually very curious to see where that goes. Now, here's why, and here's some spoilers, folks. Jessica Jones, the TV show, followed Daredevil, the TV show on Netflix, and it was good.
It was good.
We might tackle a little bit of that later on. I enjoyed it for the most part. They could have clipped it by, in my opinion, maybe 4 episodes or so. It got a little tedious there for a little bit, but I digress. Good show, well performed. Kristen Ritter played Jessica Jones. Did a great job. They introduced a good cast around her with Patsy Walker, aka Hellcat. So it was good, and the Purple Man was fantastic. Although he wasn't purple. Small nitpick.
Yeah.
Should have had purple skin, but
I was kind of hoping at that.
I'll allow it.
Yeah, and he was going to turn purple. But.
In any case, that series was based on Alias, and Jessica Jones's life in that initial run was a train wreck, which the show accurately depicts.
Yes.
Jessica Jones now. That's Luke Cage's baby mama.
Yep.
They're married. They have a daughter. she's in a much different place now than she was then. So now that they're they're making a new series to sort of capitalize on the success of the television show, but I'm worried that people that enjoyed the show might read the new series and be like, who is this? What?
Yeah.
What?
It'll be interesting to see.
But my fear there also then, now that I said that out loud, is that Marvel's going to go ahead and do something awful to revert her back to a terrible status quo in the name of synergy.
They do that.
So
they do that.
Anyway.
So yeah,
that's your news item.
Yeah, that's our first news item. Our second news item, you guys, you're learning so much about Drew and I in this episode. Those who already know us, this comes as no surprise, especially with the T-shirt that Drew's wearing.
Oh, no.
We
Pure
are
coincidence.
huge Star Wars fans.
I am. And all 4 movies.
All 4 movies. Right.
You can guess which 4 I mean.
Yep.
And we'll leave it at that.
Yep. I accept the existence of other films, but I by no means praise them as being good movies.
I don't know what you're talking about at all.
I understand. So right now, currently, Star Wars Celebration is going on, which is...
It's a celebration, Richard.
Lucasfilm said, why are we going to bring all this stuff to Comic-Cons and whatnot when we could just have our own convention?
Yeah.
It's going on in London,
Yeah, I think it's London right now.
So
they're filming there,
it's going on in London, and the big to-do at this year's celebration is the film that will be coming out this December, I believe it's 17th.
That's correct.
Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Yes.
This story tells the tale of how the original plans to the Death Star were stolen for the Rebel Alliance. And we were treated to a 2.5-minute video. I wouldn't go so far as
not a trailer.
It's not
behind
a trailer.
The scenes look.
It's behind the scenes, but we got a ton of new footage in it. Mm-hmm. And I'm so on board.
Oh, totally. It looks great. It looks like a totally different take on Star Wars than we're used to seeing. Grounded.
Yes.
Very grounded take on the universe, which looks really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see a Star Wars story that does not revolve around the Skywalker family, that does not necessarily revolve around Jedi versus Sith.
No.
So yeah, it's very... one of the things I'm excited to see most is Donnie Yen.
Okay.
His character looks extreme. He's a blind dude. Hey, look at that.
Yeah.
A blind guy who can whoop some ass.
See?
It's so much synergy. So yeah, that's coming out this December. Go online, check out the video. I'm sure we'll be seeing more coming up with Comic-Con. I believe is coming up here this weekend or next weekend, San Diego Comic-Con. So yeah.
There's going to be a lot to talk about very soon with San Diego coming, for sure.
Exactly.
Marvel is making, I guess they said they weren't going to be there, but now they weren't there last year, right?
Yeah.
Marvel skipped it entirely.
They weren't there last year because it was 2 weeks before Ant-Man.
So they had nothing to show.
Yeah, what do they get? They're going to show us just the preview we've been seeing on TV for the past couple weeks?
From what I understand, they're back this year with
Thor?
Thor and Doctor Strange.
Ooh.
Full Doctor Strange expose, I would hope.
I'm more excited to see stuff on Thor. Not that I don't want to see things on Doctor Strange. I'm very excited about Doctor Strange, but Thor Ragnarok just sounds very promising from all the things they've been talking about. It's got Jeff Goldblum in it. Asgardians find a way.
Yes, that is correct. Not to mention Tom Hiddleston will be as Loki in some capacity.
Yes.
And that role is just fantastic. I love him in it. And Natalie Portman, she's not going to be in it, though? Oh.
Nope. They said because...
that's good, man, because that means the door is open for Darcy. Darcy to come in.
Darcy.
Dude, give me more Kat Dennings all day.
I thought you were going to say Lady Sif.
She's good, too, but Kat Dennings, though.
No, I think they said that their logic for not having Natalie Portman is almost the entirety of the film takes place either in Asgard or other realms that are not Earth.
That and money.
Yeah.
But whatever.
We'll see what happens.
Raise your hand if you miss her. That's what I thought. Stop it.
I like Natalie Portman. Leave me alone. All right. So those are quick news items for you. You can check those out. I'm sure they're all over the interwebs. Next thing we got coming up is we have a review. Not an episode review, mind
Not
you,
yet.
but
slowly.
A comic book review. The new issue, of Daredevil came out this week. The current run that is being done by Charles Soule is the writer. There is a guest artist.
It feels like this whole... Okay, I'm going to be... What this is issue, 10? 9, 10?
This is issue 9.
9. We're 9 issues in. I didn't care for... I'm just going to go right into the whole...
Well, let's give a quick catch-up for the readers.
It's part of that.
Okay, all right.
So Marvel relaunched Daredevil about 9 months ago, as we're on Monthly Comics here. Daredevil, the previous run by Mark Waid and Chris Samney, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic, fun, lighthearted. The new run by Charles Soule, who, by the way, is a lawyer in addition to being a comic book writer, so he's kind of in his wheelhouse here. It's more of a return to a darker tone, but I gotta admit, man, I'm not really impressed with it. The first arc didn't wow me. I don't like the costume. I really don't like the costume. And more on that in this issue. Spidey, who guest stars in issue 9 here, does comment on that, which I appreciate. But I feel like the costume here is, again, in the name of synergy, was just a blatant attempt to try and capitalize on the success of the show and bring in more of the black proto suit into the comic book world for new readers to go like, oh yeah, okay, Daredevil.
Yeah, I don't see the suit staying. I don't see the suit being
really
permanent.
hope not.
When I first saw the suit, to give you guys an idea, the suit is predominantly black with the DD emblem on the chest, the belt, the gloves, the boots are all red.
The DD also has like some weird kind of flourish on it, which looks really silly. And I'm sorry, man, but the thing that really irks me more than anything else in that whole ensemble he's got on, you're a superhero, right? And now that, okay, so a quick Daredevil history nugget for everybody. Matt, and a big plot point of this new Daredevil series is that Matt has regained his secret identity, although it's a little vague as to how.
They haven't disclosed
This spun out of Secret Wars, though, which, oh boy, is opening up a whole other door. So if any of you guys out there don't know what Secret Wars was and what happened in it, I'm going to try to keep it brief here. Basically, the whole Marvel Universe like reset itself in a... Not itself, but there's reasons why it happened. But one of the things that spun out of that was all new kind of thing, the continuity changes.
Yeah.
And one of those things I thought anyway was that Matt, his identity was now secret again. How? But Secret Wars. So you can just hand wave it. But it seems like they're building it up in this Daredevil series that Matt actually actively did something to put the genie back in the bottle, so to speak.
Yeah.
So in any case, his identity is secret again. And when you have a secret identity and you have to change your clothes very quickly, like, you know, let's say he's got the costume on under his clothes all the time, for instance, the taped up hands, dude, the red tape all over his hands on this costume, you can't just roll around. A pair of gloves you can put on.
Yeah.
Taping up the hands takes time.
He's a son of a boxer. He might know how to do it quickly. I'm just being devil's advocate here.
Look at you with the devil's advocate. Yeah, that little detail, like, you know what that was? That was an artist, like, doing his constant, like, this looks cool. It looks so cool. And he didn't think about any sort of practical application.
No, I get what you're saying. You're not wrong. I don't hate the costume. I miss the original. When I first saw the costume, I was like, are they doing Shadowland again?
Another reason why I don't like it. It reminds me of Shadowland, which is a terrible, terrible story.
Which we will review. I've never read it, actually. So I'm going to have to track it down.
Andy Diggle, the writer.
Yeah.
Acclaimed writer. Acclaimed. He's done good work in the biz. He followed Brubaker on Daredevil. I didn't think it was possible for anyone to, like, tank Daredevil Volume 2, because it was Kevin Smith, David Mack, Brian Bendis, Ed Brubaker. Pedigree. Like, that book was... You would have to try really hard to screw that up. Andy Diggle found a way to screw that up. Granted, he was probably saddled... I'm just guessing. He was saddled with an event. They said, here, you have to do an event with Daredevil by editorial. So maybe he did the best he could.
You never know.
But, woof.
So this issue of Daredevil number 9, it's the second part of a new story arc. We see Daredevil in Las Vegas, and he is tracking down something. He's currently working on a plan to end all the organized crime in New York City.
Yeah, and he got some intel from the Black Cat or something, right?
Yeah.
So he's in Hong Kong.
He's
Macau.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Not Hong Kong, Macau.
So he's tracking down this case with vital information in it. He calls in Spider-Man to help him out, and they go through this huge fight to get this case. A lot of this issue, I'll be the first one to say, a lot of the issue is fluff.
Yes.
Until like the last 3 or 4 pages. The artist on this, though, Goran Sudska.
Dude, I couldn't tell you. Marvel lately has basically subbed out all of their art to overseas talent.
I don't mind that so much because you got to find new.
You got to find new talent, like Leinil Francis Yu, for instance. Dude,
that's good talent.
Guy's talented. So I'm not opposed to finding foreign talent, but Marvel's making it more of a point to do it. And if you ask me, it's not about finding talent. It's about keeping the cost down.
Yeah, I can see that. I do like the art in this issue, though. It's very reminiscent of the art in the previous run. Very close to the Samney art. Samney?
Little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, it's not a bad issue.
No, and
there's a lot of fluff to it. There's good action to it. I'm always going to be on board for a Spider-Man Daredevil team up.
Where I will give. See, like I said, I've not been impressed so far with this run of Daredevil. It's just been kind of like they're trying to establish some kind of point to it all. This issue comes as close as any to doing that, I think, because Matt can bounce off of Spider-Man, and Spider-Man hits him with some perspective, which is pretty,
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting because Spidey, traditionally has been like the hard luck. Again, we've been over this a little bit, but
yeah.
Spidey dishing out advice this time, and it's honestly not bad. Saying, because again, this black costume situation with Matt kind of comes up, and Daredevil, he gets kind of told by Spidey, like, look, black costume eras, man. I get it. Sometimes it's got to happen, but be careful.
Yeah.
Bad things can happen if you're going to let that kind of consume you. And I thought that was interesting. That's two characters that have been around the block a few times, kind of, waxing philosophical about their adventuring and their lives, even though Spider-Man doesn't know who Daredevil is anymore, which he does remark on, like, we've had all these adventures for years and we go back a long ways, but for some reason, I don't know who you are, and yet I think I used to. And Matt has to actually kind of come clean. He doesn't tell him who he is, but he tells him that he did used to know who he was.
Because Spider-Man was in a similar situation.
Yeah. They're more alike than you think.
In which was resolved by a terrible storyline.
Maybe Daredevil made a deal with Mephisto.
Quite possibly. Although, in Spider-Man, they're tugging at the strings.
Of course they are. Everything old is new again.
Listen, if they're going to unravel and undo one more day, we should support that wholeheartedly.
I miss Mary Jane, man.
So do I.
Married Spidey was cool. He was allowed to grow up.
Exactly. So, yeah, decent issue.
Decent.
It's not earth-shattering or anything. It's not super great. It's not super bad. It's a decent issue. You get your $2.99 worth or $3.99, what have you. Yeah. So we're going to be doing Daredevil comic reviews and other comic reviews. Like it, Drew. What else did you read anything this week that kind of stuck out to you that you can suggest to the people?
I'm not a good person to ask, to be honest with you, because I'm very much, as you can see, behind in my reading. But stuff that generally comes up to the top of my read pile, it's increasingly less and less Marvel and DC. And it's more and more creator-owned stuff. So, hang on, let me grab said pile really quickly. All right, my top three, real quick, the top three from the pile. Series that I enjoy. Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan. It's on number 7 right now. This is a fun series. It's about a gang of paper girls in the 1980s. Time travel is involved. It's cool. Trust me.
Image likes their series set in the 80s because I'm still reading Deadly Class.
They know their market, sir.
That's fair.
But no, seriously, Paper Girls is pretty good. Brian K. Vaughan, in case you all don't know, is a fantastic comic book writer. And I can highly, 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 highly recommend his series, Y the Last Man.
Yes.
Ex Machina. which was a more of a political bend series, but very cool. Tony Harris did the art. Oh, fantastic. It ends kind of poorly, but anyway, good stuff. He's currently writing Saga, which, if you don't know, is like one of the hottest books on the market.
Just finished the most recent trade. I'm reading in trade.
Talk about tugging heartstrings. That series tugs heartstrings, man. And Why the Last Man, by the way, one of the very few instances where I have cried on a comic book.
Yeah, me too.
So, but yeah, so Paper Girls is a new series. It hasn't reached those levels yet, but it's only 7 issues in, but it's very enjoyable.
If it's 7 issues, I'm assuming the first trade is out.
I believe so. Yes.
Right, I might check that out.
Lazarus by Greg Rucka and Michael Lark. I love this book. It's flipping great.
Rucka's doing the new Wonder Woman series for...
There's some controversy about that, too, but I don't want to talk about that on this show. But I love Lazarus. This is a great book. It's on number 22 right now. Trades are available. I'm not going to give you a synopsis. It takes... I'll try. It takes place in a future where there is no more governments. There's families, essentially, like big controlling families, kind of like old king. Not really. They're like modern kingdoms, essentially, and they hold territory. And like, if you're not in the family or a part of their military, you're kind of like a serf. And if you're not a serf, you're just human waste. Like,
gotcha.
It's pretty cool.
Cool.
Lazarus, the title. Every family has a Lazarus, which is basically a super soldier of their own that they only bring out for like the heavy hitting missions, and they can regenerate, and they're like the right hand of the leader of the family. It's pretty heavy stuff. Great book. Yeah, good stuff. And then you're gonna laugh, but you know what? Laugh all you want. It's a freaking good book. Klaus, number 6 of 7 by Grant Morrison and Dan Mora. This is an origin story of Santa Claus.
I'm familiar with the book.
It's great. It's so cool. You laugh. It's really good. We're in midsummer. It's on number 6, and I'm still reading the origin story of Santa, and it's so awesome. This issue finally like gets mystical. Like the guy who becomes Santa finally like has an encounter with spirits, and I think he's about to fully become the Santa.
And who is the writer again?
Grant Morrison.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. I'm telling you, it's great. Trust me. This will be a holiday classic for decades to come. Anyway.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, and Descend, I can see just only because I can see out of the corner of my eye. Descender by Jeff Lemire. Lemire. I'm not trying to say it. Whatever. That's a good book. If you like sci-fi, if you like Mass Effect and Star Trek and spacey kind of stuff.
So space.
Descender is right up your alley.
Cool.
Good book.
Awesome. As far as stuff that I can recommend, I've actually been, and I know you're going to roll your eyes at this, I've been really enjoying the DC Rebirth titles.
Yeah, I'm rolling pretty hard right now.
It feels classic DC, and it's great. I'm not sure which ones I'm going to keep up with, but I haven't come across any that I say, wow, this is bad. Like, I just read Nightwing Rebirth number 1. That was really good. The Green Arrow series is still probably ahead of the pack on those, but that's predominantly what I've been reading mostly. So, all right. As for our comic reviews, now for our last new segment of the show.
We're doing all the new stuff up front, huh?
We're doing all the new stuff all front loading. Give us plenty of time for the episode in the back.
Oh, boy.
As you know, Mr. Drew Celestino, my
They
co-host,
might not know.
They may not know. He is a man of many talents. Some might go so far as to say a renaissance man. One of the talents that Drew has is enjoyment for homebrew beer, which brings us to a segment that we're going to try out on the show. It's not going to be every episode, and it's called Kitchen, because Daredevil takes place in Hell's Kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Kitchen
Brew with our friend Drew.
Oh, which are rhymes. Okay.
Anybody want a peanut?
So, let me give you a quick clarity on that. I don't just enjoy a good home brew. I'm a big craft brew enthusiast, and this is going to sound. Okay. So here's the thing. I don't want to scare anybody away. Craft beer tends to have a sort of hipster-esque connotation to it.
I'm scared.
I mean, like the swirly mustache and man pre and V-neck kind of hipster. I mean, and like I'm not that, as you can clearly see.
Does it have a man bun?
Yes, hipsters have man buns. So the craft beer scene kind of got mixed into that for some reason. So when I say this, it's going to sound super hipster, and I totally don't mean it to, but I want to lay out context. I've been into craft beer before it was a thing, and I feel fucking. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I feel so dirty saying that, but no, when I was like 17, I drank some very good beer. Anyway, it's Brian McGee. My first good beer was a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale when I was before I was even legally old enough to drink, and it set me on a path of good beer. And at the time, late 90s, early 2000s, this was not yet a huge thing, a huge national phenomenon. It was growing, but it was not what it is right now. So I've kind of like watched this whole thing explode, and it's very cool. But yeah, I'm super into it. I'm super passionate about it because I've been into this for so long, and I've had so many great brews over the years, and I've been to so many great breweries, and I myself do the home brew myself. And in the last year or two, I would say, I've finally gotten to a place where I consider myself good at it. So I've been doing it for a number of years, but just in the last couple, I've kind of come into my own, and it's a good feeling to be able to say that. So right now, in the kitchen brew, if you want to make it a physical place, I guess, I've got in my primary fermentation vessel, which I'll be transferring to secondary fermentation tomorrow. These are technical terms, kids. Send those questions on Twitter or Facebook or to our email address, and I will happily explain what all this means. I'm transferring it tomorrow. I have the Rider's Eve Rye IPA. So what that is a rye malt IPA. IPAs are India Pale Ales, for those of you who do not know.
I didn't know.
Now you know. IPA is a style of beer. India Pale Ale. They call it that because India Pale Ales, traditionally in the British, were pale ales brewed in Britain that were extra hopped so that they would survive the journey from Britain to India. That's the origins of the style.
We have something new.
Us Americans, of course, have taken it and made it into a whole different animal. We've jacked them up big time, as we want to do. Remember the Dennis Leary phenomenon? Like, only in America would cocaine not be good enough for somebody.
Yep.
Yeah, well, this is kind of like that. Only in America would we say, like, that pale ale's pretty good, but you know what we're going to do? We're going to jack it up. So that's how it's been an arms race of hops for years now, which is great because I love hops. Anyway, yeah, so my rye IPA will be going into secondary fermentation tomorrow. In 2 weeks after that, it will be bottled, and then 2 to 3 weeks after that, it will be ready for consumption.
Cool.
It did not go according to plan, unfortunately. It's a little less ABV than I wanted, alcohol by volume for the uninitiated. But I know how that happened. I know how to fix it so that next time around, I will not make that same mistake, and it will be a little more on the nose to my recipe. So now I'm crafting, like I said, in the last couple of years, I'm getting better and better at this. I'm crafting new recipes more than I ever have, and I'm trying to be very, very true to myself and my interests with the names. So the Rider's Eve is based on the song Dyer's Eve by my favorite band Metallica, for those of you who don't know. So yeah, that's my kitchen brew for the week. That's my little kitchen brew story.
Still waiting for Bureau of the Day.
Bureau of the Day? Yeah, I don't know. It's a little. We can do better.
A little too on the nose.
A little too on the nose.
All right, cool.
But yeah, thanks for letting me spout off there for a moment.
No problem. We're gonna try out these little segments here and there. Like we said, it's not gonna be an every week thing, but we're gonna introduce some culture into the show.
Culture
beyond geek culture. So,
expanding your palates, so to speak.
Exactly. So, again, if you have any questions for Drew about brewing, things like that, by all means, submit them to Facebook, submit them to Twitters. I'm sure Drew can be persuaded to throw some pictures up on the Facebook page of the process and whatnot, everything that happens.
Got a few that I take along the way, so yeah, I can share some of those.
Cool. Awesome. Now let's get to what you've all been waiting for. Thank you very much for indulging us. Episode 3 recap of Daredevil.
Now, based on the episode that we've just... Based on, number one, the episode that we watched, and then our time limit on... We like to keep we want to run a tight ship here on The Devil's Due. Some podcasts can go for 2+ hours. Lord knows I've done them. But we want to keep this tight. High and tight, as they say. So we're going to try and keep this tight. So let's get into episode 3 here.
This episode is called Rabbit in the Snow.
Rabbit in the Snow.
Opens up...
Not a boxer pun this time.
No.
Not Cutman.
No. Opens up in a bowling alley. Sadly, one minus Mr. Lebowski.
Yeah, but the guy that is bowling kind of looks like the Jesus.
He does.
A little bit.
A little bit. He's got the purple shirt on. He's got the mustache.
If they could have got John Turturro, I'd have lost it.
He's like the Jesus, like 20 years.
Yeah.
From when you saw him in The Big Lebowski.
Yeah. He's Transformers Turturro.
Oh.
He devolved.
Transformers. Geez.
Anyway.
Okay, so.
Gentleman walks in, and then he has to bowl, but they're closing up, and only guy allowed to bowl is Mr. Jesus. Even though that's not his real name, but yeah, let's go with that.
He's quite obviously someone of power in the underworld.
Yeah.
Guy has to bowl. He says, like you said, they're closing up. And he's like, can I ask the guy if I can bowl with them? And she's like, it's your funeral.
Yep.
He goes over, asks. The guy tells him to essentially F off.
Yep.
And that's when her little ginger friend
pulls a gun.
Doesn't pull a gun first. Quickly dispatches of the bodyguards with... hand to hand,
but
styles. But then pulls a gun, and then we have a flashback.
Daredevil loves flashbacks.
So flashy backy.
But I have in my notes. Oh, Turk.
Turk's back. Turk's got a busted nose.
Here's what you need to know about Turk, everybody. Turk is the lovable loser. He'll never learn his lesson, but he never really succeeds.
Yeah, he will never. He's
the underworld Foggy, but less competent.
Yes. Exactly.
The comic relief.
Yes. Yeah, that works. That works for Turk. Okay, so
this gun will never jam.
This gun is not going to jam. Guarantees it. Flash forward to our little ginger would-be assassin.
Yeah.
Click. Gun jams.
Now we're fighting.
Now we fighting. And Mr. Bowler can definitely throw down with the best of them. But it is hard to defend against a bowling ball being smashed into your face 3 times.
Just now, okay, before
block
even before that, can I say that this show has already laid the foundation of violence and the gritty real world that we live in.
Brutality.
We're still, if you're new to the show and you've maybe seen the Avengers, it's already a little jarring.
Yeah.
Well, in the opening of this episode, before he smashes his face in with a bowling ball, we get a compound fracture of his arm.
Twice.
Popping out of his skin. Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. Yeah, he breaks and then breaks again.
It's crazy.
And we see that again later in this episode. This episode really ratcheted up.
Oh, yeah. It's savage.
The brutality of the show, which was already pretty brutal. So, yeah, compound fracture, and then the assassin crushes the guy's skull with a bowling ball 3 times.
Stashes the gun under the pinball machine.
Which leads us to a wonderful moment later in the episode that Eyes of Fighting Game fan.
I have notes on that, too.
And then the cops show up. He puts his hand behind his head.
Willingly.
Yep. It's like he was expecting the cops. Says, I want a lawyer. Intro credits.
Gee, I wonder who his lawyer's going to be.
Who's it going to be? Who do we know he's a lawyer? Now.
So.
After the credits.
Question.
Yes.
Because here we are. Matt. The man of the hour.
Yeah.
Does he just hang around outside of church? Was there a reason that he didn't go in? He was just hanging out outside.
Yeah, we've got Matt and Father Lantom.
But why was he outside?
I had on my notes.
Why not go in?
Here's my theory. On my notes, I had Matt wants to talk / doesn't. I think
he's conflicted
because time is clearly passing between these episodes.
Yes,
and Matt is out every night doing daredevil-y things.
Mm-hmm.
And he has no one to share that aspect of his life with. With his Catholic background, he knows that, like, obviously he can go to confessional and that's protected.
Yeah.
And the priest says, you could kill 10 people and I could not tell anyone.
Yep.
So I think Matt needs someone to talk to about this aspect of his life. But then when he's there in the moment, he rethinks it and just kind of goes on his way.
But Father whatever
Lantham
lays the foundation. This is the first reference to the recurring character, the cappuccino machine.
Yes. Coffee.
Yeah.
So
Matt walks away, though, thanks him for the kind gesture. Now, here's something I missed the first time I watched this episode in our next scene.
What's up?
We see a gentleman get out of the car and meet another gentleman out by the docks. They say it right away, but I didn't pick up on it for some reason. I just didn't hear it the first time I watched the first time I watched it.
Okay.
Now it's like it's obvious. I didn't realize it until like later in this episode who it was. He says it right away. It's Ben Urich. He calls him Urich. It's like the first line he greets him as Ben Urich.
Yeah.
And I totally missed it the first time. And I didn't realize it until later this episode when he's like in the office with the newspaper. I'm like, oh, yeah. It's Ben Urich.
Yeah.
It is Ben Urich.
We meet Ben Urich, who I really think, at least for this season, is kind of the heart of the show.
Absolutely. And I love the actor they picked for him.
Yeah. Vondae Curtis Hall.
Now, he's not exactly a known guy, okay, but I remember him. I was an HBO in the 90s kid, remember?
Yeah.
They did a movie about Don King, starring Ving Rhames. Ving Rhames, by the way, fantastic in this movie. Ving Rhames is tour de force as Don King.
Yeah.
But one of his guys that he worked with in the movie was the gentleman who plays Mr. Urich here. And he was great in that movie, too. And he was a familiar face to me as an HBO kid. And I was like, oh, it's that guy. And he's good. Good character actor.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He brings, like we say, he's the heart of the season, the heart of the show. He brings a lot of heart to this character who has existed in the comic books. Ben Urich is directly from the comics.
Yep.
And as we like to do when we introduce a new character, we like to give you a little comic book background. Ben Urich was created by Roger McKenzie and Gene Colan, and he first appeared in Daredevil number 153 in July of 1978.
And he recurs often in
Yes.
Daredevil.
Now,
used a lot in the Bendis run, the Brubaker run. Anytime Matt has to confide in someone, often he confides in Ben Urich.
Yes.
Ben keeps his identity secret. Ben has even in the midst of Matt's public identity outing, Ben kept his mouth shut and backed him.
Because Ben researched and just like through journalistic reporting discovered who Matt really was in the comics. Now, this character is also a character who's got his feet in two different pools, because he's also fairly regular in the Spider-Man world as well.
Yes. Now I have some. Well, when we get we'll talk a little bit about that later on.
Yeah.
Yep. So we have an interview here with. Well, it's not an interview, but Ben's trying to get information out of a certain mob person.
Boss. I think it's clear they established it's a boss.
And as they exchange they're having a little informational exchange.
The rules
are changing.
Yes.
And the new generation, well, whoever is behind the new generation of criminals entering Hell's Kitchen in New York City, they're not playing by the old rules like this gentleman's used to. They're playing by a new set of rules. And as he remarks, they don't just... It used to be they killed you, they send your wife flowers. Now they kill you and her.
Yeah.
So
they kill you and they send your wife after you.
Yeah.
So I've got written old families being pushed out.
Yep.
There's a mixture of confusion of who is doing the pushing from the old family's perspective.
Right.
They have taken note of Matt, even though they don't know what he is, like who he is, or
what side is he on
exactly.
Right.
But they also know that it's new families doing things in new ways, and Urich is warned. He's like, this one is like he said. They keep mentioning the rules.
Yep.
This guy warns Urich, you want to sit this one out. It's not the way it used to be.
Yep.
Because it's established that Urich is a dedicated reporter, but he is a respectful reporter. Like you mentioned earlier with, even when in the comics, when Matt's identity became public, which is interesting to see whether or not they do on the show at some point.
Oh, they have to.
No,
they have to.
They will. Yeah.
Especially if they do it the way it was done in the comics. Anyway.
But we see here that Urich has respect, is respectful to them in his reporting, because he never when the guy went up for 10 years, he never dragged his sons through the muck.
Right.
Just him.
Yep. And like you said, this is establishing Ben as a heart of the season.
Yeah.
So
now we flash over to the offices of Nelson and Murdoch.
Quick observation.
Well,
two things. First, Karen is hiding something. Number one. Number two, when Foggy walks in, the office across the hall from Nelson and Murdoch is Atlas Publishing. Do you know what Atlas Publishing is?
I don't.
It's the original name of Marvel Comics in the 1930s. Atlas Comics.
Timely Comics.
Before it was Timely, it was Atlas.
Oh. See?
How I
learned something.
See? Look at that.
Spinning all kinds of knowledge this episode, sir. So, yeah.
Karen had some paperwork that she doesn't want anyone to see.
Karen's got some paperwork. A lot of my friends who I've talked to who watched the 2 seasons of the show aren't the biggest fans of Karen as a character right now. But I'm just kind of saying, every time they mention it, I can't say to them, wait.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's, like, for those of you out there who are comic fans and know eventually what path Karen takes, I know you guys are kind of chomping at the bit for us to talk about it. This is something I kind of want to wait till we get to in the show. I don't want to spoil this particular thing.
Just what's the problem with Karen?
Some of them find her annoying. I think because she's not as fleshed out yet in the show as she is in the comics.
Are these the same people? Are these the same people that hate Skylar on Breaking Bad?
I never watched Breaking Bad.
No.
My wife did, though.
We need to change that.
I got enough stuff I'm watching.
Put it all aside. Put Breaking Bad at the top of the list.
Okay,
all right.
So we see again Wesley. The right hand of Kingpin, Wilson Fisk, comes to hire Nelson and Murdoch to defend our redheaded assassin from earlier in the show.
Right.
We don't quite know that just yet.
Well, here's the thing. He wants to hire them, but he won't divulge his name or who he works for.
Yeah, and Foggy sees the check.
Sure.
Foggy's on board. A lot of zeros at the end of that retainer check.
Matt suspects something's amiss.
Yeah, Matt is questioning.
Yeah, rightfully so. So he follows Wesley out of the office, unbeknownst to Wesley, and he hears the ticking of his watch. He hears his heartbeat. He follows him from a safe distance, and he hears him get into a car and remark to somebody, "It's been taken care of."
Yeah. And the car pulls off, so a little faster than Matt can keep up on his foot. And then we also see a quick nod to the previous episode where Matt is still injured.
Oh, yeah, he's still leaking.
Yeah, still bleeding a little bit.
Yeah. Well, he refused to go to the hospital.
That's true.
Now, we are in the office of, unfortunately, not the Daily Bugle. The Daily Bulletin, because at the time, Sony and Marvel were not as friendly as they are right now.
And the comic books, dear listener, Ben Urich is a reporter for the Daily Bugle.
And we get to meet his editor here. And it's not J. Jonah Jameson. He's a little surly.
I like this character, though.
Me too.
Especially in the second season.
Yes, he kind of gets fleshed out. But even here, again, he does dump on Ben. He does kind of... Like Jonah might, he does kind of crap on him and tells him what to do and how to do his job. But he does have a heart, clearly.
And he puts context behind what he's asking. Because he's essentially...
He wants a newer direction for the paper.
Yeah, he wants Ben to do a fluff piece about subway lines. Ben wants to do more on
crime
the
families.
Union Allied story, the crime families.
Correct.
And he's like, this doesn't sell papers. We're barely holding on to our jobs as it is. We need something that's going to sell.
Right. And we also find out in this scene that Ben is dealing with insurance companies, as we'll find out later, over the care of his wife. And his editor here goes out of his way to tell him that he will
call the
company on his behalf and make things happen. So again, tough, but the characters are being established with, dignity and heart.
So, and then we go to the precinct, the police precinct, where our assassin is being held, and we learn his name is Healy.
And his lawyers come in.
One of his lawyers.
Mr. Nelson.
Foggy is questioning Healy, and Healy is clearly feeding him lines that he has spoken numerous times before.
Yeah, this is not, as they say, Healy's first rodeo.
Yeah. Healy is described, I think, very aptly by Foggy as a shark in a human suit.
Yes. I did. Now, I made a little observation, though, because they refer to attorney-client privilege in this little scene. Anything that he tells them, they can't really repeat. It's confidential. And I wrote down kind of like a confessional. Kind of calling back to Matt and the priest earlier.
Good call.
Yeah,
nice
interesting.
Catch. So, and then Matt shows up, and Matt instantly wants more information. He says, yeah, sure, we'll take the case.
Right.
And Foggy's just like, no. And we get to see that there is a limit that Foggy will go to.
Sure.
Like, Foggy wants the firm to make money, and they joke about it a lot. And, like, his jaw hits the table when Wesley gives him the check. But we see...
Once he's confronted with actual dirty money, as it were, or actual human filth, Foggy...
And they have a quick exchange when they get back to the office, too, that flushes this out more.
Right.
But we see that Foggy, essentially being a good person, does have that limit to where he will go.
And Matt here, we should note, like, Matt is not obviously doing this for money. He's doing this for information.
Yeah.
So
he wants to work his way up the food chain.
Correct. But even though he's doing it for sort of, I don't want to say selfish reasons, but not necessarily altruistic reasons, he does, when we get into the courtroom, he doesn't, even though he knows this guy is guilty, he still respects the court above all.
Yes.
And defends this man.
This is the first episode we see Foggy Nelson in action in a courtroom, and they establish with both Frank and Matt that they are very capable lawyers.
Not only are they capable, but in Matt's case, even knowing that his client is guilty, he presents it to a jury saying the prosecution did not prove...
Beyond the shadow of a doubt.
Exactly. Matt respects the process of the courtroom, which is ironic because he's a vigilante. But anyway, Matt, when he's in the courtroom, he does not play fast and loose. He is not again, Breaking Bad. He is not a Saul Goodman.
Stop using references I don't get.
Sorry, man. You really got to get on board here. No, Matt respects the law.
Yeah.
To the degree that he does. So. Yeah.
So, jumping ahead for kind of time's sake.
Well, we get some information on Karen here.
Yeah. Oh, wait. No, there's a scene that we want to talk about. We flash back to the bowling alley.
Oh.
Wesley shows up to collect the intended murder weapon.
Yes.
Which was stashed in the pinball machine.
Correct.
Which is being played by two guys who, well, they're pretty clearly...
They're douche bros. Douche bros, yeah.
So, the guy's like, wait your turn, bro. I'm playing the game. When's your turn?
Wesley proceeds to take a quarter out of his pocket and place it on the machine. Oh.
And what does he say?
I got next.
Oh,
memories.
This is
memories.
A fine tradition for those of us who frequented arcades in our youth. When the game was being played and you wanted your turn, particularly in fighting games, you put your quarter or your token
on the machine.
Said, I got next.
Yep.
So, yeah, I enjoy that scene. Fun little scene.
Me too. I was took it right back to putt-putt.
Yep. Karen makes a deal with Union Allied.
Well, they want to make a deal with her.
She has proposed a deal.
Yes. Basically, they want to buy her silence.
Yes.
They want to it's legalese, so we're not going to get too bogged down, but she leaked information to the press that got Union Allied in some trouble. Okay? Now, because of that, they can't prove she did it, but they kind of know that she did. So
and
as
if
such,
she admits she did it, they can prove that clearly they see that she did it. She violates a non-disclosure act that she signed when she was hired by the company.
Right. It's all very murky. So because there's been 2 attempts on her life, and they want her to go away, they try and buy her off and say, sign this.
We'll 6 months salary.
We'll give you 6 months salary, and you can never tell anybody anything else about our company, yada, yada. Go away. Shh. Quiet little girl. Also, I made a note that the gentleman that she was talking to, he looks Canadian.
He looks Canadian. Tell us, sir, what does a Canadian look like?
That guy. They look like that guy. He looks like he looks very much like he would be the general manager of a hockey team. You laugh. I'm telling you.
All right. Okay, not to offend any of our Canadian listeners.
No. I'm just saying, this gentleman.
I know for a fact we do have some.
Okay, well they'll vouch.
Okay, all right. I'll go with you. Okay, so.
But she's not having it. So she goes to see the guy who died in her apartment's wife. Oh, Karen, what are you doing? Don't open that door. But she clearly has been bought off.
Yeah.
And she tells Karen, go away.
Yeah, leave it alone.
Leave it alone.
There's just like...
Basically, something's up with Union Allied.
There's an ominous feeling.
Very ominous. And then we get the quick scene of Ben Urich's wife in the hospital.
Yeah. And they'll touch on this more.
They're going to get into it more, but basically she's in care of some kind.
Yeah.
I forgot. I forgot. That's why I'm rewatching the show.
There you go. Yeah, she's in... so I wouldn't necessarily call it private duty nursing because it's not happening in the home.
Okay.
But
Ben wants to take her home though.
Yeah,
eventually.
Ben wants her to get well enough to be able to come home. Her disease is not necessarily disclosed. I'm guessing it's probably something along the lines of Alzheimer's.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Very, very heart touching scene. Again, you get to every time Ben shows up, you get to like Ben more.
Yes, you do.
So,
in the offices of Nelson and Murdoch, however, the internet is not doing well.
Apparently, physical violence towards computer makes them work.
I'm glad
better.
you said something because I had to make a note because I'm in the web development IT department. As a career, don't bang on the router.
It doesn't work.
No, just unplug it. Give it 10 seconds. Plug it back in.
But like if you bang on it, doesn't it?
No.
Like
no.
The clog of the internet going through the wire.
No.
So it's not like
it's not a series of tubes. It's not. You can't just dump on it like a truck.
But
that's a little internet humor for you.
But if what if I?
No. Trust me.
All right.
Just trust me.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop banging on my router.
Good call.
Okay, so we're back in court.
The guy gets off.
Yeah.
Phrasing.
Juror was bought. Multiple jurors.
Multiple jurors were bought. And as a result, the jury is hung, and they will not retry him. He gets off.
Yeah, I'm guessing the judge was probably had a little grease in her pockets, too.
Possibly. But we find out that these jurors have all been bought by Wesley and his little network.
Yep. And we find this out in a quick scene between Wesley and Owsley in the car.
And Owsley's such a grump.
He really
He's so impatient.
He's so like Ebenezer Scrooge almost.
But still, good stuff. Yeah. He's a great actor.
Karen goes to Uric.
Does she?
Yeah. She goes to Ben's office and says that there's more behind the Union Allied story.
Yes. Yep, she does. I missed it in my notes.
So those two meet, and a relationship that will last the rest of the season
and beyond
is forged.
Yeah.
And then
Mr. Healy gets out of jail.
Finally. Yeah. Well, no. Yeah. Before that, Mr. Healy gets out of jail, and and Matt shows up as Daredevil,
Proto Daredevil,
to find out what Healy knows.
Right.
And we are treated to probably the most polished and choreographed fight in the series to date so far.
Well, it was 3 episodes, so.
Because it's established that...
Wait. More polished and choreographed than the hallway?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this was more about technique.
Okay.
Where the hallway was just brute force.
Okay. Fair enough.
Because we clearly have two people who are extensively trained in hand-to-hand combat. So there's... and I like how they still treat it with realism, to whereas, yes, it's a finger quotes, martial arts fight.
Yeah.
But there's still a common sense street level to it, i.e. when Healy picks up a giant metal pipe, Matt is moving away from him.
Yeah.
Still fighting him, but while moving away. So Matt wins the fight, and Healy gives up the name.
Well, first, before he gives up the name, I have to point out that Matt is doing the Batman voice here. He's got a little bit of Bale Batman voice happening here still.
But at the same time, he's winded.
I'll give you that.
Not everything is Bale voice.
Here's the thing. I don't like it. I don't like Bale voice, but it's such a thing that I can't not hear it.
It is such a thing.
So anyway, he gives up a name, and he says the name Wilson Fisk. Now, comic readers, we all went, So, because we knew.
Yeah.
But
this is the first time they say
it in the show. And apparently, as the man said it, he knows he wasn't supposed to say it.
Yeah.
And as a result of saying it, he will be killed. Everyone that he knows and cares about will be killed. He is a dead man, essentially. And he decides, because he has now spoken the name, and it can be traced back to him if word ever gets out, he impales his face on a fence post
metal
spike of some kind.
Yeah.
I think
probably rusty. He might need a tetanus shot.
He might need a body bag.
So I think this speaks volumes as to establishing the threat that Fisk is, the unknown threat.
Yes.
Previously we had it, you didn't even speak his name. Now we see the consequences of that name being spoken.
Yeah. And then we cut, speak of the devil, as it were.
The devil shall appear.
Wilson Fisk.
We get our first scene with Wilson Fisk.
And not just Wilson Fisk.
Also Vanessa. Wilson Fisk.
Mrs. Fisk.
Obviously,
not yet, but soon to be Mrs. Fisk. Spoilers.
The next episode, we're going to go full bore into Fisk, because that's his true debut. This is what, in comic book parlance, the next episode is his first full appearance.
This was his cameo appearance.
This was his first cameo appearance.
Yeah.
So, like, if a character makes a first appearance, like the famous issue of Incredible Hulk that's touted as Wolverine's first appearance.
It's number 181. But
his actual first appearance was on the last page and last panel
of 180.
Issue 180.
Correct.
But the first full appearance always has more value over something like that.
Especially when he has cover treatment. So,
exactly.
Anyway,
so
but as we can see immediately, D'Onofrio as Kingpin, very imposing.
Yes.
Very, very, very imposing.
Yes. They're discussing a painting. The significance of the painting we will discover later on in the series.
Yep.
But needless to say, I'm excited about next week's episode. Not that I wasn't excited about this one. We had a good time. We always do. But next week's episode is kind of like how we were excited about episode 2. Next week's episode, we really get to talk about Fisk. I'm excited about that. So there you go. Episode number 3 of Daredevil. Shot through it. I think we gave it its due.
Ooh, look at that. See?
It's obviously it's like we said last week.
Laying groundwork, my friends.
Yeah.
Laying groundwork. And it all pays off eventually.
Exactly. Last week was best episode of the season, but it just keeps getting better after that. This episode took it up a couple notches, but was predominantly laying groundwork, introducing Ben Urich. All the episodes are great. We love them, but this episode was a decent episode.
Yep.
All right. So that wraps it up for another episode of Devil's Due.
Indeed.
Again, if you would like to find us in the social medias, you can follow us at Twitter at The Devil's Due Pod. Follow us, retweet us, tweet to us. We will respond back to you. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Devil's Due Pod. No, I'm sorry, facebook.com/Devil's Due Pod, or you can just search The Devil's Due, or you can email us at thedevilsduepod@gmail.com. Drew.
Yes.
Any parting thoughts, sir?
No, sir. I'm all good. Next episode should be fun.
All right. Court's adjourned.
I am the law.
Stop it.
I want to do a Stallone thing.
Stallone has nothing to do with this.
Okay. But he could.
If he gets... I'll tell you what. I'll make you a promise.
Okay.
If Stallone gets cast in Daredevil Season 3, we will go back and re-record every last couple seconds of the show.
Wow.
Quoting a different Stallone line.
Oh, okay. Does it have to be just Daredevil? What if he just gets a Marvel role in general?
Daredevil.
Court's adjourned.